Poison types fighting each other. Gengar is much cooler. Because he's part ghost. Hello and welcome, everybody. This is Pokemon Leafgreen, and I'm ThorW, and welcome to my first Let's Play of a Pokemon game ever on this channel. And it will not be the last, but it will definitely be the first, and we are going to enjoy it. I love Pokemon. I freaking love Pokemon. How many of you guys out there love Pokemon? If you do, raise your hand right now. I see a few hands being raised. Oh, they're mine. Hello, hands. You are high in the air. I love Pokemon. I have loved Pokemon for so long, and I can't wait to play this. Now, there are a few differences between the Leaf Green and Fire Red versions, and I'll be going over those as we hit them. But first off, I do want to say, I do want to point out a couple things between this, is that Fire Red and Leaf Green are the first remakes in the Pokemon series that are remakes of the Red and Green games back in, what was it, 1998, I believe, something around there for their American releases at the very least. So, this is basically an update to the Red and Green versions where they take the Gen 3 rules, that is the Ruby and Sapphire rules, and apply them to that, along with a few other updates to the late game content. So I really like these. I love the actual updates that they do for the Pokemon games, because they're a great way to bring the very old content into the modern day rules of Pokemon. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and see that our save file is corrupted, as always. And anyway, hit the new game button. That was just me testing to make sure that recording was working properly and everything like that, as I like to do. Now, first thing we're going to notice is that throughout this game, there are many tutorials. Game Freak wants to make sure that you guys know how to Pokemon, and they are going to teach you how to Pokemon. And here is the Chief Pokemon Teacher. Hello there, glad to meet you. Welcome to the world of Pokemon. My name is Oak. People affectionately refer to me as the Pokemon Professor. This world is inhabited far and wide by creatures called Pokemon. For some people, Pokemon are pets. For others, they are used for cockfighting. And as for myself, I rip them open and study their entrails. Yes, quite interesting. That is my profession. But first, tell me a little about yourself. How you doing? Now tell me, because I am an old man. Professor Oak's a very old man. He is forgetful, and although you are his grandson's best friend since children, he doesn't remember if you're a boy or girl, and he doesn't have his glasses on, so he can't tell that way either, or maybe you're just not dressed well. But if you look at the girl sprite, she has a skirt on and everything, so maybe he's just blind. Anyway, normally I like to take the girl sprite. However, because this is the first generation, and the boy sprite for this one is Red, we are going to be the boy sprite because Red is the best protagonist that the Pokemon world has ever seen. And I will fight you. I will fight you IRL if you want to argue with me about that. Let's begin with your name. What is it, woman? I like to call myself on the area. I like to call myself Thor W. With a W there. Thor W. Right, so your name is Thor W. Yes, that is what I say. This is my grandson. He's been your rival since you both were babies. You were both put into the same playpen, and you had some blocks, and you stacked them 3 high, and then he looked at you, and his eyes narrowed, and he stacked a block 4 high. So we knew that you've been rivaled since children. But, what was his name again? I don't know. So I'm actually going to go ahead and give this guy a name. I'm going to name him my Pokemon rival from when I was a kid, one of my best friends back in the day. Z-A-I-K. Zake is what he liked to call himself in his Pokemon games. If you're out there, man, much love. Pour one out for you. He's not dead or anything. I just haven't spoken with him personally face-to-face in a while. We do talk online, though. So, Zake will be my rival's name, as we always did a lot of Pokemon battles anytime we could. I live in a very small town, so he was my main go-to compadre, especially when it came to Pokemon and stuff, and we both loved it, so as a shout-out to him, that's what we're doing. A world of adventures and dreams and Pokemon awaits, and of course we were sitting here playing with the NES as we started. Let's just crawl back into bed. I can't get comfortable. Never mind. Let's hop on the computer. Let's see. What does YouTube have? No YouTube. Just item storage. Well, I'll get this potion. And I guess I'll leave. And there's nothing in the mailbox. Trust me on that. So I want to point out the absurdity of it. Why do I have a potion? I'm not a trainer. I don't have any Pokemon. Where did I get the potion from? Why was it in item storage? This is just a waste of 200 Poké Dollars. I don't know. Actually, I think potions are 300 Poké Dollars. This guy just wastes money for no reason. Mom, why you let me waste money? Right, all boys leave home someday. It said so on TV, and TV never lies. So Professor Oak next door was looking for you. Well, he's gonna be looking extra hard, because I'm out. Later, I'm off to bigger and better things. Hey, wait! Don't go out there! You'll get ripped to shreds by the violent Pokemon. Did he just come out of my house or something? It's unsafe! Raptors live in the tall grass! Don't go in the tall grass! You need your own Pokemon for protection. Here, come with me. So Professor Oak's a real nice guy, a real stand-up fella who, any random person in the street, he will take them to his lab and just say, yo, here, have some Pokemon. Gramps, I'm fed up with waiting. Hey, Gramps, I'm fed up with waiting. I want my Pokemon. Zeke, let me think. Oh, that's right. I told you to come. Yeah, that's why you're here. Anyway, there's 3 Pokemon here. The Pokemon are held inside these Pokeballs. When I was young, I was a serious Pokemon trainer, the greatest in the world, but now I'm old, and I've dissected far too many of them. These are the only 3 I have left, but at least I got those sweet encyclopedic entries into my Pokédex. You can have one. Go on and choose. Hey, Gramps, that's no fair. What about me? Be patient. You can have one, too. You nerd. I can see where Professor Oak's grandson gets his attitude, because Oak himself seems to be a little bit rude. So, our first Pokemon on the table here is Bulbasaur. It's very easy to raise. Bulbasaur is a grass and poison type Pokemon, and will remain a grass and poison type throughout its evolutionary stages, all 3 of them. Now, in this generation, in the early generations, grass is not the strongest typing that you can generally have, because there aren't a lot of very strong grass moves, the strongest of which being the likes of Razor Leaf and Giga Drains and stuff like that. Relatively weak. Of course, Solar Beam being an outlier, but needing a turn to charge. So grass has relatively weak moves overall in these early stages, and it's not until later generations in which grass-type moves will kind of be made so that grass Pokemon can become much stronger. So I'm going to say, no, I do not want a Bulbasaur. Squirtle is your choice. That's one worth raising. Not like that useless Bulbasaur you passed up. Squirtle's cool. So Squirtle is the only starter in the first generation that stays a consistent single typing throughout its evolutionary stages. It is a pure water type through and through. If we take a look at like Bulbasaur's stats and level ups and whatnot, Bulbasaur stays relatively defensive with a relatively meaty special defense score and some defense for itself, and not really gaining a whole lot of damage for itself. Squirtle, on the other hand, while it does get pretty beefy in the HP stat, as most water Pokemon do, it has a pretty respectable special attack and even a respectable attack score with which to work. So Squirtle does evolve into a relatively strong Pokemon. The downside to this evolutionary chain being that it's turtle, it's slow, it ain't winning any races, but it's pretty darn strong and not a bad Pokemon to choose whatsoever. Squirtle is a pretty decent starter, one of the better ones in this generation too. So you've decided on the water Pokemon, Squirtle? No. Well, now we're going to walk over to the fan favorite, the people's champ Charmander. You should raise it patiently because he's got a fire lit under his ass and ready to go. He's hot-blooded. So, some notes about Charmander. Charmander starts as a fire type and will remain so until its final evolution where it gains a flying subtype. One of the best things about the Charmander evolution chain is that it's relatively fast with a pretty respectable special attack score, making it pretty darn good for sweeping through enemy teams, especially those that are weak to the fire typing or even the flying typing. It's a little bit more fragile than the other two Pokemon. It does have lower health and lower defensive stats, but it makes up for it with its pretty good attack stats. Now, the main reason why a lot of people really love to start with Charmander and work on to Charizard is because Charizard looks like a really cool dragon. And they're right, Charizard does look like a really cool dragon, and he should have been part dragon. Why is he part flying? Well, because then the starters would be super unbalanced. But another very, very good reason for starting with Charmander and working towards the Charizard is that in the early generations, Gen 1, even through Gen 3, there are very few fire types, especially in Gen 1. There are very, very few fire types available in the game in total. So your ability to find other fire types to fill the void of that typing is relatively small, and most of the fire types are actually somewhat weak, especially when compared to Charizard. So it makes Charizard a very salivating choice to just want to throw onto your team as one of the strongest fire types you can get in Gen 1. So, obviously, I'm going to be taking Charmander, and actually, no, I'm not. Get wrecked, Charmander fans. I'm picking Squirtle. Why am I picking Squirtle? Well, I've done a lot of Charmander playthroughs, and I wanted to do a playthrough with another Pokemon. I'm not a fan of the grass typing in these early generations. Period. I don't like grass types at all in these early generations. They don't have enough moves to choose from, they don't level up well, and a lot of grass types are mainly about inflicting status effects. They've got stuff like Stun Spore, Sleep Powder, Leech Seed, stuff like that, which does little bits of effective stuff over time, but it's not explosive and damaging, unlike Squirtle and Charmander, who can become very powerful. So I want to pick Squirtle. Not to mention, there's the fact that Squirtle in the anime wears Kamina glasses, and when he evolves into Blastoise, he gets giant cannons to shoot water out of from his shell. Yes, I'm picking Squirtle and his giant cannons and Kamina glasses. For those of you who don't know who Kamina is, go look up Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann and you thank me later. Do you want to give a nickname to Squirtle? Yes, I will. I'm going to nickname each and every Pokemon that I intend to use on my team. So, Squirtle's nickname is going to be very simple, and it is going to be a little homage to one of my favorite turtles ever in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Heroes in a Half Shell, Leonardo Power. Why Leonardo? Because he's a blue turtle, and Leonardo has the blue ideally, bandage, headband. We're just gonna end this before I look even stupider. Leonardo it is! And of course, our rival, being the jerk that he is, picks the typing that is strongest against ours and takes the Bulbasaur, leaving poor Charmander without a trainer. And I want to go ahead and take a look at what do we have available for our Pokemon. We have a Naive Nature with pretty decent starting stats, 11 attack and 11 special attack. Those are the two that I really pay attention to when it comes to starter Pokemon, because that's the important stuff. What does Naive Nature do, though? Okay, I took a moment to look it up. Naive increases our speed at the cost of special defense as we are leveling up. So that means there will be a higher priority for more points to be put into speed and lower priority for special defense. That's perfectly fine by me. A little extra speed doesn't hurt. I don't mind sacrificing defense for offense. That's how I roll anyway. So Leonardo, let's go ahead and go. We are off on our Pokemon adventure. Oh yeah. Wait! Thor, come check out our Pokemon. Come on, I'll take you on. So our rival, being the hot-blooded idiot that he is like, look, let's have a Pokemon battle with our new Pokemon. I'm gonna go ahead and show that I'm the best by fighting you and beating you. Of course, he's actually going to lose. Oh, for Pete's sake, so pushy is those. ThorW, you've never had a Pokemon battle before, have you? Actually, Professor Oak, I've had many a Pokemon battles when trainers pit their Pokemon against each other. Yeah, I know, I've done a lot of Pokemon battles. The trainer that makes the other trainer's Pokemon faint by lowering their HP to 0. Yes, Professor Oak, I've been there. I don't know. You'll learn more from experience, so try battle. Yeah, I'll try battle. So you can't shut up the tutorials. They're gonna happen. Anyway, the best way to take on your rival and fight one is to just tackle. Just keep tackle. Inflicting damage on the foe is the key to any battle. Yes, it is. So he used Growl. That is a status effect. That is a stat-changing effect. So I'll go over the basics of this stuff we're going to see in here. We have an attack type move and a stat-changing type move. Tackle is an attack type move. That you use it, you hit your opponent with the attack. Very simple. Growl was a stat-changing move. You use it, and a stat-changing move can either increase your own Pokemon stats or decrease your opponent's stats. It can actually even lower your own stats while increasing another. It is most useful when increasing your own stats rather than working on your opponent. So we have crushed Bulbasaur in a huge one-sided landslide of a defeat. Bulbasaur barely took off half of our health and grew to level 6 with Leonardo. What? Unbelievable! I picked the wrong Pokemon. So, as you can see, this guy is a very gracious loser. He's, excellent! You kicked the crap out of my grandson. You stomped his face into the dirt. If you win, you earn prize money because he's got no Pokemon to defend himself, and you have a death machine on your side to threaten him with. And your Pokemon grows stronger, like Saiyans. Battle other trainers and make your Pokemon strong. Okay, I'll make my Pokemon battle to toughen it up. Smell you later, nerds! So, yes. We can see that our rival is a bit of a brash knucklehead. And we can check our Pokemon real quick and see that we are fully healed after that battle. And everything is perfectly fine, so we will begin our journey to the next town on Route 1. So, Route 1 has a couple of encounters that we can hit, and I will go over them as we hit them. Rattata is the first of the 2 encounters that we can get. So, Rattata is the little mouse Pokemon, and evolves into Raticate. Rattata is basically your basic weak early game Pokemon that is specifically used by most people as an HM slave. It can learn such wonderful HMs as Cut, Rock Smash, and even Strength in its evolved form. And generally, it's used that way because it can learn multiple HMs, and it's not very useful as a Pokemon itself. Its stats are low, it levels up, and in the early game it's not bad, especially Raticate's pretty good in the early game. But unfortunately for Rattata and Raticate, as they level up further and further, their stats stay pretty low, while other Pokemon easily beat them, especially because they can evolve again. However, a couple of notes for those of you that want to use a Rattata or a Raticate. They do have a couple of unique moves to them that make them relatively strong, especially through the early game. Moves such as Super Fang and Hyper Fang are very good. Super Fang cuts your opponent's current HP in half. No matter how much health they have, it will cut it in half. Very strong, it doesn't matter the typing, it's a very, very strong, very good move. On the other hand, we have Hyper Fang, which as an attack just has a lot of very strong power for how early you can get in the game, making Raticate and Rattata very strong early on. Not a bad Pokemon to have to carry you through the early game. And we have hit level 7 with Leonardo, so we have learned our first special attack move, Bubble. We will go over the Pidgey, which is the other Pokemon we can find, and its evolutions when we find one, which is unfortunately not quite yet. But over here in Viridian City, we have one bit of business to do, and that's to head into this Pokemon Mart. Hey you! You came from Pallet Town, right? You know Professor Oak, right? His order came in. Can I get you to take it to him? So, we will receive Oak's parcel, and we are now Professor Oak's errand boy. Apparently. Okay, thanks. Please say hi to Professor Oak for me, too. I've got to buy some potions. You never know when your Pokemon will need quick healing. You know, I agree with you, fast-talking 50s backwards hat cap, yellow cap boy. I ruined the name. Anyway, let's buy some Okay, thanks. Please say hi to Professor Oak for me, too. So as you can see, once you have Oak's parcel in your inventory, this guy doesn't see you as a customer. You are nothing but Oak's errand boy. And you must deliver that parcel for him. Deliver the crap out of it. And if we go over here, we see that we have a nice little school trying to memorize all my notes. So let's go ahead and hit this blackboard, which lists Pokemon status problems during battle. So we can see that there is Slip, Poison, Par, Burn, and Frizz, which stand for Sleep, Poison, Paralyze, Burn, and Freeze. Now, each of these status effects has a different effect. We'll go over them. Sleep is a persistent effect that lasts 1 to 5 turns in battle, where your Pokemon will be asleep and be unable to do any moves except for very specific ones. This does persist outside of battle, so it will continue to sleep even in the overworld. Poison is a neat little status effect that's actually pretty unique, and I like the mechanic of it, where your Pokemon at the end of each turn during a battle will take a little bit of damage. There are 2 types of poison. There is normal poison, and there is being badly poisoned. Normal poison will deal a set amount of damage at the end of each turn, whereas being badly poisoned will do increasingly high damage at the end of each turn until you have cured it or switched your Pokemon out. In the overworld, this has a persistent effect where every few steps you will take a little bit of damage onto your health bar for whichever Pokemon is poisoned. So very important to get rid of that very quickly. Paralyze is a move that in battle will... Once again, this is persistent and will persist between battles. This is a effect that cuts your speed in, I believe it's in half? Maybe even to a quarter? But it cuts your speed greatly, and it gives I believe a 30% chance to not be able to move on your turn. So pretty good for locking down an opponent. Burn is a move that will cut your attack stat in half and deal a little bit of damage to you at the end of each turn. However, for some reason it doesn't have an overworld effect where your Pokemon is running around on fire in horrible pain. As your Pokemon slowly dies from poison, for some reason if it's burned, it's like, nah, this is fine. It's like that comic with the dog just sitting there with fire all around it. This is fine. Until the next battle where it actually matters. And finally, Freeze. Freeze is one of the more powerful effects, especially through Gen 1. This actually used to be the strongest effect in the game in the original Pokemon because there were very few ways to counter it. Nowadays, throughout Gen 3 and up, we have stuff like holdable berries that can cure freeze, we have fire-type moves that will cure freeze, etc. But what it does is it will freeze your opponent solid. They will be unable to make any actions while being frozen solid, and it persists between 1 to 5 turns. So, those are our basic status effects that we can go through, and you studied for your test. Good for you. And with that little tutorial, I'd like to end us off here in Viridian City before we move on to deliver Professor Oak's parcel. So, thank you guys very much for watching. We're going to go ahead and save our game. Warning, there's a different game file. Yes, we're going to save over. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will continue our Pokemon playthrough with so much fun and so much vigor. Yeah, Pokemon! On the next episode, I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye, 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 bye-bye. Bye-bye.